Hi guys, today we're doing a stat breakdown of the pound for pound UFC rankings, including records, striking stats, grappling stats, and at the end we'll go through who the statistically best striker in the pound for pound top 10 and who the statistically best grappler is. As it stands at the time of this video, Volkanovski and Jones are tied for number 1 in the pound for pound, followed by Islam, Edwards and Izzy in 3, 4, 5, then Aljo, Oliveira and Usman in 6, 7 and 8. In 9th we have Pantoja, and tied 10th we have Jiri and Pereira. Firstly, looking at wins, there are 2 fighters above 20 UFC wins, whereas 9 of the fighters are above 10 wins, since Prochazka and Pereira don't even have 10 fights in the UFC yet. Charles Oliveira has far more losses than any other top 10 pound for pound fighter, since all other fighters have 3 losses or less. Jon Jones has probably the greatest UFC win-loss ratio we'll ever see, whereas all other pound for pound top 10 fighters have a win-loss ratio greater than 2.5, which is exceptional, noting Jiri hasn't lost yet, so he doesn't have a win-loss ratio. Alex Pereira has the best opponent win-loss ratio, although fighting Izzy twice did bump up his numbers. It's also interesting that Islam's opponent win-loss ratio is quite low, since he's only fought 1 top 7 lightweight at the time of this video, which he did win this fight. Age is very interesting to look at, since all pound for pound fighters are between ages of 31 and 36 years old, so this seems to be the prime age for a UFC fighter, although a few guys might drop out of the rankings soon. Onto the striking stats, there are no insane knockout artists in the pound for pound top 10, with 3 fighters having a max of 5 knockouts in the UFC, whereas all fighters in the pound for pound top 10 have at least 2 UFC knockouts. Looking at knockout rates, Prochazka has the highest knockout rate, although he only has had 3 UFC fights. Similarly, Pereira has the second highest knockout rate, although he's only had 6 fights. Therefore, what makes Volk and Adesanya so impressive is their high knockout rate after 14 and 15 UFC fights each. Charles Oliveira is an outlier in the pound for pound top 10, with 4 knockout losses, whereas the rest of the pound for pound top 10 has had 5 losses. There are also 5 fighters who have never been knocked out. Volkanovski has insane striking numbers and averages a strike differential of 15 higher than everyone else in the division. It's also interesting that 4 fighters barely win the striking differential on average. Onto strikes landed per minute, Jiri has a crazy strike output for a hard-hitting light heavyweight, whereas Islam Makhachev has a super low strike output since he prioritizes control time. There's another clear outlier in strikes absorbed per minute, since Jiri Prochazka is super hittable, which may be a problem against Hill, Ankalaev or Pereira. Islam is an outlier in the other direction, who only absorbs 1.27 significant strikes per minute. Pereira is on top of strike accuracy, bringing a new level of strike accuracy to the pound for pound rankings. Something I also found interesting was that Adesanya has the second lowest strike accuracy in the pound for pound top 10, despite being known for his elite striking. Striking defense is seemingly one of the most important stats in the pound for pound top 10, since the fighters with a top 6 striking defense are also the 6 guys who have dominated their divisions for the past 2 or 3 years. Onto grappling stats, Oliveira is an outlier once again, with 16 submissions considering the rest of the pound for pound top 10 has 23 submissions put together. Jon Jones also has the 3rd most submissions in light heavyweight history. Despite having 32 UFC fights, Oliveira also has the highest submission rate in the UFC, whereas Islam is approaching quickly. The recurring theme here is that Oliveira is an outlier in the pound for pound top 10, since he's the only fighter to be submitted in the pound for pound top 10 and he's been subbed 4 times. However, other guys have come close. Jon Jones has had the close armbar by Vitor Belfort, Jiri had the close arm triangle from Glover Teixeira, Volk had the infamous guillotine from Ortega, and Pereira recently had a close rear naked attempt from Blachowicz. Therefore, submission defense is so important for being one of the greats. Takedown accuracy is deceiving, since Pereira and Jiri have only had 1 takedown attempted and landed. Islam Makhachev has the real best takedown accuracy, above 60%, which is insane for the amount of takedowns he's attempted. Takedown defense is so important for being dominant in the UFC. Usman has the best welterweight win streak of all time, Jon Jones has the best light heavyweight win streak of all time, and Islam and Izzy have the 2nd best win streak in the lightweight and middleweight divisions. Looking at takedowns landed, Islam and Usman have dominated with their wrestling, whereas Izzy is unique and seemingly the only current dominant champ who does not attempt takedowns. Usman leads control time, which is so impressive considering the amount of wrestlers in his division. We can again see that all the dominant champs except Izzy average 200 seconds of control time or more. Now, time to crown the statistically best pound-for-pound striker. The way I did this was for each of the stats on the screen, I gave the best fighter 5 points, the second best fighter 4 points, the third best fighter 3 points, and so on, then added up all their scores and ranked them. In third place is a huge surprise, Aljamain Sterling, who is 6th in knockouts, 2nd in strike differential, 4th in strikes landed per minute, 9th in strike accuracy, and 3rd in strike defense. I think his grappling stats allow him to have large differentials and high defense. In second place is Jon Jones, who is 1st in knockouts, 3rd in strike differential, 7th in strikes landed per minute, 3rd in strike accuracy, and 1st in strike defense. And the pound-for-pound statistically best striker is Alexander Volkanovski, who is 1st in knockouts, strike differential, and strikes landed per minute, and is 4th in strike accuracy and strike defense. On to the significantly best grapplers in the division. In third place is Jon Jones, who is 2nd in submissions, takedown accuracy, and takedown defense, and is 4th and 6th in takedowns landed and control time. In second place is Kamaru Usman, who is 6th in submissions, 2nd in takedown accuracy and takedowns landed, and he is 1st in takedown defense and control time. And the statistically best grappler is Islam Makhachev, who is 2nd in submissions, 1st in takedown accuracy, 3rd in takedown defense, 1st in takedowns landed, and 2nd in control time. That brings us to the end of this video. Let me know which divisions you'd like to see next and what surprised you in the comments. Also, if anyone has any ideas for new video ideas, I'd love to hear your suggestions. And as always, like, share, subscribe, do all those good things, and I'll see you next time.